International story now. Ukraine has accused Russian forces of blowing up a strategically important dam in Kherson, which supplies water to a nuclear plant and the region of Crimea. Emergency evacuations have begun as the war zone faces flooding risk. Ukraine's defense ministry has called this an ecocide by Russia, which means mass destruction of flora and fauna, poisoning of air, water resources, and anything that may cause environmental damage. Meanwhile, Russia blames the dam's destruction on Ukrainian shelling, saying it was a deliberate sabotage by Ukraine and one of its goals was to deprive Russian-occupied Crimea of its water supply. Now, this was a huge Soviet-era dam supplying water to the nuclear plant in Crimea, and both Russia, Ukraine are blaming each other for the breach of the dam as well. Let me go across to Stefan Korshak, senior defense correspondent at the Kyiv Post. Stefan, thank you very much for joining us. How is the media in Ukraine reacting to what has happened? How critically could essential services in Ukraine, the lives of people, be impacted by what has happened?
To take your second question first, those people living in the floodplain are impacted directly and seriously. I'm seeing reports of flood rise up to 5 meters above normal levels. So there are thousands of people that are needing evacuation. So far, no reports of casualties, either injured or dead. But the territory covered is big. Thousands of people, potentially tens of thousands of people displaced. In terms of media reaction, the Ukrainian media reaction is, without exception, I think it's safe to say, they're sure that it was Russia's responsibility. It was Russian troops that did it, and there's plenty of evidence and material appearing that seem to substantiate that.
Right. We are getting reports, and I think this is what the president has also said, President Zelensky, that 80 settlements are in the zone of flooding. We also are getting reports that this dam supplies water to the Crimean Peninsula, as you pointed out, and the Zaporizhia nuclear plant. How could the nuclear power plant be impacted if the water supply from this dam is restricted or cut off?
If the water supply is completely cut off, then there's a major problem because the reactors, which are still functioning, require a constant and voluminous supply of water to remain within normal temperatures. And if that water supply is shut off, then the reactors theoretically have to be powered down, and that's not an easy process. However, it's not clear that even with the dam destroyed, the volume of water available to the reactor, to the station, nuclear power station, would be insufficient to do that. It's just not clear at this point.
Right. Stefan, this dam had been under the control of Russia since the start of the war. The Ukrainian forces managed to recapture the northern side of the river last year. Could you take us through the sequence of events leading to the detonation in this area, leading to the destruction of the dam? What do we know so far? Because we've seen a statement from President Zelensky. The Ukrainian government is calling this a war crime, but Russia is saying that this is a sabotage on the part of the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian forces.
Well, we know that there are a lot of images showing the dam being blown up and damage to the dam following the detonation. Most sources seem to agree that the explosion took place inside the structure, maybe at more than one location. Some reports say that in some of the hydroelectric chambers where the turbines were, that was one of the key places where the explosives were placed. The Ukrainians have presented materials that are now being widely distributed over the Ukrainian media, identifying a Russian unit that was in that location for quite a while, identifying this unit in placing explosives. And so the Ukrainian argument is it's very clear who controlled the dam. It's very clear they put in the explosives. Therefore, the logical conclusion is that most likely the Ukrainians are saying it was clearly the Russians that did it. That being said, nobody saw anybody, if you will, put a match to a fuse. So really who did it, it's not clear yet to those of us that use open sources.
All right, Stefan Korshak of the Kyiv Post, thank you so much for joining us with that story. Let's see how this develops. But of course, a very difficult time for Ukrainians living in that region as well. We are going to